Hey friends, welcome back to my garden. If you're new here, my name is Jen. I do cooking, canning, and food preservation videos every week, and during the garden season, I do gardening videos. If you're into that sort of content, I hope you'll consider subscribing and sticking around. Today, I have a very late season garden update. I never in a million years expected to be still harvesting things in the middle of November, but here we are with the unseasonably warm weather. You can tell by the small bowl and my house slippers that I really wasn't expecting much on this day. And by the time I got done harvesting everything, I was pleasantly surprised and probably needed a bigger bowl. My sugar snap peas are still going strong, and I was so tickled to find some radishes. I've been trying to grow radishes for a couple years now. Some of you may not know, but this is only my second year gardening on a large scale like this. It's large for me. It may not be large for the rest of you, but this is a pretty big garden for me. And for whatever reason, radishes just never go well. They always get left too long and we'll get a lot of rain and they split, or they just don't ever get very big. And this is the second time I've harvested radishes now, and I am very happy about that. So apparently I did something right this year. In an earlier vlog, on a whim, I went ahead and tried to plant another flush of green beans. Now, I was told by some folks on the internet that it would be fine where we live in our zone, that we would have plenty of time, and I had my doubts. Okay? But as you can see, I'm still harvesting peppers. So when I got to the green beans, I was like giggling. My husband was laughing at me because I in no way expected to find this many green beans so short after planting these plants. I didn't expect to get anything at all off of these, to be honest, but they survived our first frost, and I thought, well, I'm just going to leave them alone and let them do their thing, and here they are. I have now harvested 2 big bowls of green beans off of these, and that makes me really happy because I didn't expect to get any more at all. I thought what I got during the summer was just going to be it, and I'd start again next year. But here we are. I've gotten enough green beans now for 2 meals, and that kind of goes to say, if you don't try it, you'll never know. Worst case scenario, these would have done nothing and I was out a few seeds, but instead, I got to have fresh beans just a little bit longer. This time of year, I find that it's very easy for me to get kind of sad missing summertime and missing the big plush overflowing garden and stuff, especially with it getting dark earlier in the day and less sunshine, more rainy days. So being able to have just a little piece of the summer for a little bit longer really makes a world of difference for me. I don't know if you guys are the same, but there's just something about hanging on to the garden until I possibly can't anymore that just brings my little heart joy. I talked earlier in the garden season about, small victories and gardening being kind of like a learning experience. You will never be 100% perfect. I mean, people can call themselves master gardeners, but I am sure that there's still knowledge to be had daily when it comes to gardening. So I learned quite a bit from my garden this year. This year was the first year that I tried to grow tomatoes in ground, and they did really well, even though I just left them to their own devices. So I learned that even if you run a chaos garden, if you're not very particular about trailing up your plants and things like that, they're still gonna give you food. It may not be as much as it could have been if you put them on trellises and things, but plants want to grow and they're gonna give you food. So that was one lesson that this year taught me. And probably the biggest lesson that my garden taught me this year was try again. I have been trying to grow zucchini for a couple of years now. Not very successfully. It's intermittent. I'll get a couple of zucchinis, but not much. You hear about people just throwing zucchinis at their neighbors because they have so many, and that's just not the case for me here because I have so many squash bugs. So I've learned that to get zucchini, I really need to be very proactive about the squash bug eggs and taking care of the squash bugs as soon as I see them. So lots of lessons. I also learned that from my green beans, both of my flushes of green beans this year, the germination was not that great. So next year when I plant green beans or black beans, I'm going to plant absolutely more than I think that I need. Seeds are cheap, and if you plant more than you need, the worst case scenario for you is you have to preserve more, and I don't really see that as being a giant problem. And I say all of this about the garden because this is probably going to be the next to last garden vlog that I do for the season. The only thing I have left to do is to plant my garlic and tear the flowers out of the center bed, which is just absolutely gut-wrenching to me because my flowers are still so pretty. But some things have to go to make space for new things, and that's just part of the season that I am in. I would love to hear about your garden. Those of you that have been with me for a little while, what were your successes this year in your garden, and what were maybe some of your failures? And what are your plans to do things differently in your gardens next year? How are you going to change it up? I'll still be doing vlog content, even though it's wintertime. It'll just be different sorts of things. So, until next gardening season, friends, dream of happy gardening.